One of the things that makes live music so interesting and unique is that no two performances will ever be the same. You could take the same performer or the same ensemble and have them play the same thing 2 nights in a row, and even if they're trying to be as consistent as they can, there's still going to be some differences from night to night. You could also have 2 completely different players play the same piece back to back, and because of their different influences and their different strengths and weaknesses and backgrounds, it might come out to be 2 completely different interpretations of the same piece. In my opinion, this variety is essential for classical music and music in general to stay relevant. Things would just get far too boring if we didn't have this variety. Unfortunately, auditions for professional ensembles don't necessarily play by the same rules. The reality is that there is a certain way that auditioners will be expected to perform the excerpts, a certain way things go. And if you veer too far from this expected interpretation, it could be to your detriment. One of the most important aspects to get right in your excerpts is the tempo. And so what I want to do today is share with you a strategy that I have learned that really helps me get to a good tempo that I can feel confident in, and one that audition committees will listen to and feel like, yes, this is the right tempo, or it is a tempo that we expect to hear.
Not quite my tempo.
This approach actually uses math to take out some of the personal preference on how to choose excerpts, and instead relies on established ensembles and established reputable conductors to be what helps us choose the right tempo. I want to warn you though, this approach will take you some time to do. If you apply it to your own list, there is some time investment, but I have really good news is that you only have to do this work once. So let's look at it like a long-term investment in your audition journey, and let's dive in. So let's look at 3 sample excerpts for this. First, let's look at the opening promenade from Pictures at an Exhibition. And then let's look at Petrushka, the ballerina's dance from Petrushka. And then let's look at something like the opening of Schumann 2. So the first thing you want to do is find at least 3 recordings from reputable conductors. I think 5 is preferable, but sometimes it's hard to find many different reputable recordings. So at least 3, 4 is better, 5 is preferable. So the first reputable recording I found for Pictures is this recording of the Chicago Symphony with Schulte conducting. I believe this concert is in Tokyo. It's one of my favorite recordings of this. I think the Chicago brass sound amazing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna listen to the way that Bud plays the promenade, and I'm gonna use tonal energy here, and I'm just gonna hit tap tempo while he's playing with every beat, and we're gonna get an approximation of how fast he's playing. Here we go. So as I tapped tempo through that, I kind of seem to hover around 90 beats per minute. So we're gonna type in Chicago. I put Schulte in parentheses, and then maybe we'll even put Tokyo in parentheses so I know which one. And then I'll put 90 beats per minute. That's all we're gonna do. And so we need to find 4 more recordings and do exactly the same process. Okay, so I've gone through and I have done the tempos for Promenade. And so we have Chicago, that Tokyo recording we did earlier, that's around 90. Oslo with Beachkov is at 84. Chicago at Kubelik is 104. New York with Alan Gilbert is 92. And then Philadelphia with Muti is 96. Again, when you tap tempo, it's not perfectly one tempo, so you're taking sort of an average of the tempos you see and the feel that comes from it too. So what we want to do next is we want to get the mean and the median. So to get the mean, we want to add up all these numbers. So 90 plus 84 plus 104 plus 92 plus 96 equals 466. And then you're going to divide that by 5 because that's how many recordings we have. And that equals 93.2. And we're just going to round to, let's say, 93. The next thing we want to get is the median tempo. And the median tempo is you line them all up from lowest tempo to highest. So we're going to go 84, and then 90, 92, 96, 104. So the median tempo would be 92. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add up 93, which is our mean answer, plus 92 equals, and that's going to be 185. And then you divide that by 2, and that's going to be essentially 92.2 or 92.5. So what you can do from here is you can round down to 92 or round up to 93. I personally don't like odd tempos for some reason, so my personal tempo based on these recordings would be 92 beats per minute for Promenade. This is a nice tempo. I actually use this tempo when I do auditioning because there's really good forward motion, but it's not so fast it sounds kind of out of pocket. When you listen to the Kubelik recording at 104, and I found some others that were faster, it kind of sounds weird. And if you listen to the Oslo recording, it sounds great. It's just a little bit slower. So I think 92 is that sweet spot where you have forward motion, but it still sounds like Promenade and has weight and drama and things like that. I would literally do exactly the same thing for Petrushka, the ballerina's dance. I'm going to go through and I'm going to tap tempo with the excerpts when I find them. And then I'm going to get the mean, get the median, average those two out, and that's going to be my tempo. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then it'll happen instantly for you, but it'll take me probably like 15 minutes. Maybe. Okay, so I finished up listening to the Petrushka recordings, and just very quickly, we'll go down the list. We have Concertgebouw with Andres Nelsons, that's about 118. Cleveland with Boulez is at 102, quite a difference there. New York with Alan Gilbert is at 108. Frankfurt with Estrada is 116, and the Berlin Phil with Rattle is at 114. So the mean is all of those numbers, all of them added up equals 558. You divide by 5, and you're left with 111.6, which I rounded up to 112. And then the median, you can see I ordered them in order, and the middle number right here is 114. So you add those two numbers together, and you get 226. Divided that by 2, and you get 113. And so for me, I just chose to round down to 112, but you could easily round up to 114. So what's happening here is you're getting this almost average of all of these great conductors and their interpretations. So you can make an incredibly informed decision rather than saying, I kind of just like this tempo, so maybe I'll go that tempo. Now, I've had a couple of examples in my own time doing this that didn't quite work to be 100% accurate, and I had to adjust the tempo. But I'd say 95% of the time, or a little bit more, the tempos that I chose for this are really great. Everything makes sense. The music flows. So I definitely recommend this method for choosing tempos for your auditions. Choosing tempos is just one of the facets that you have to have down to have a successful audition. Another is knowing how to run mock auditions. So if you don't know how to do that, or you want my thoughts on that, go ahead and click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next video.